You are watching ETVN Philippines.
Emmanuel, the God with us who saves.
We go to the second part of our presentation. So we have established that Jesus met his mother Mary. Now we ask, when did Jesus meet his mother Mary? Kailan sila nagtagpo? Nagtagpo ba sila after several days? Nagtagpo ba sila after Jesus showed himself to his disciples? When? That is the question. Was the meeting the first of all the meetings? Okay? Was she the first to ever see the risen Christ? Well, again, if we go back to the Bible, it seems Mary was not the first witness. And we have two considerations here. The first is one that is written in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16. It was it was the first appearance of Jesus after the resurrection, narrated in the Gospel of Mark. And in the Gospel of Mark, it was directly said by the evangelist that Jesus appeared first. Take note. Jesus appeared first to Mary Magdalene. There was the explicit and direct mention of the word first. So, given this, we right away are given this idea that perhaps Mary, the mother of Jesus, was not the first witness to the resurrection. And another consideration was, in the empty tomb account in the Gospel of John, Mary, the mother of Jesus, was simply absent. She was not there, right? And this is recorded in all four Gospels. Now, how do we counter-argue these two explicit accounts in the Bible as to who Jesus met first? Okay. Now, there is a certain commentator and scholar of the Bible in the 16th century. His name is Cornelius a Lapide, and he offered an interpretation of the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, verse 9. According to Cornelius, the word first indicates not an absolute priority, but a relative one. Hindi siya absolute, relative. And the evangelist Mark used the word first to say that Jesus first appeared to Mary Magdalene before he appeared to other disciples, right? So relative. The first ascribed to Mary Magdalene was not absolute. It was relative to Jesus' appearance to the other disciples. Kaya nga, Mary Magdalene is called, one of the titles of Mary Magdalene is the apostle to the apostles, right? She was the first to receive the message or witness herself the resurrection of Jesus, seeing for herself the risen Christ. And it was Mary Magdalene, who was sent by Christ to tell other apostles about that event, that Jesus was risen. So apostle to the apostles, relative. And it does not speak, since it's relative, not absolute, it does not speak about what took place before that event. It does not even talk about the possibility of an earlier apparition. We are not told that directly that Jesus did not, show himself to his mother, and we did not know what happened before Jesus showed himself to Mary Magdalene. Hindi natin alam kung anong nangyari. And if we go back to what we have cited earlier, the first letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 15, which is a rundown of St. Paul of the possible witnesses, or the actual witnesses of Jesus' resurrection. He said that he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12, then to more than 500 brothers at once, and then he appeared to James, and then all the apostles, and last of all, he appeared to me, right? If you notice, there was no mention of Mary, the mother of Jesus, as one of the witnesses, but there was not also a mention of Mary Magdalene as the witnesses, all right? Even if, even mentioning that she is the first to witness the resurrection of Jesus. So if Mary Magdalene was the first witness, bakit hindi siya sinabi ni Paul sa kanyang first letter to the Corinthians? Because even the listing of St. Paul is relative, right? It's not an absolute listing. It is not to show us the chronology of those who witnessed the resurrection of Jesus, but simply to tell the Corinthians that among those who witnessed the resurrection of Jesus, he was the least among them. Okay? So in this regard, Mary Magdalene is not necessarily the first one to meet the resurrected Jesus or the risen Christ. It was not chronologically speaking. So if Mary Magdalene was not the first, right? The question is, where was Jesus before she saw him? Nasaan si Jesus bago makatagpo niya si Mary Magdalene? Okay, ngayon gagana ang ating imahinasyon. And how do we explain the absence of Mary, the mother of Jesus, from the empty tomb account? Where was she? So these questions at the outset would lead us to answering our question, what was the timing of the appearance of Jesus to his mother? Now, the interpretation of the empty tomb. Okay. According to the Defending the Bride website, it seems unthinkable that Mary would be absent from the episode, considering that she is devoted to her son, she loves her son so much, and she is a loyal follower of his son. We know that Mary is loyal because she remained with Jesus all throughout his suffering. She was there at the foot of the cross, never leaving his son, right? So it is unthinkable. Hindi natin lubos maisip na bakit mawawala si Mary sa empty tomb account. She should have been mentioned there. Now, what are the possible reasons? So the Defending the Bride website offered us some possible reasons. Reason number one, we cannot do away with the fact that Mary is a devout Jew. And being a devout Jew, she must have been a faithful observer of the law, especially the law on the Sabbath. Remember that Jesus, it was a Sabbath, right? Sabbath yon. Okay. So she must be where? Knowing that it is the Sabbath, she must be at home. So that's one possible reason. But this is my objection to that reason. If Sabbath was the reason, how do we explain Mary Magdalene and, the other Mary in the account of St. Matthew going to the tomb? Okay? Hindi ba sila observers ng Sabbath law? Okay. Defending the Bride website offers us another reason. Sabi na, we can think of another reason. We think of what transpired the previous day. The previous day, Mary was so exhausted. She was grieving. Umiiyak kasi pinapahirapan yung kanyang anak. Umiiyak kasi na-witness niya yung pagkamatay ng kanyang anak sa krus. And kapag we are grieving so much to the point of wala nang lumalabas na luha sa atin, nakakapagod yun. I've seen and witnessed grieving families of a dead loved one, umiiyak to the point na wala nang luhang nilalabas. Pagod na pagod. So according to the second reason why Mary was absent in the empty tomb episode was because she was so exhausted by the grief she experienced the previous day. That's why she must have been, having a good deal of rest at home. That was second reason. Well, it is a reason, but my objection to that is it's so degrading on the part of Mary. Para bagang nakaya ni Mary na pagtiisan yung grieving the previous day, and this is her son. It's degrading. Parang, hindi ba better to think na kaya hindi siya pumunta sa tomb with Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to anoint the body of Jesus ay dahil she could not stand seeing the dead body of her son instead of having a good deal of sleep at home. Di ba? And the third reason why Mary was absent in the empty tomb episode is that, sabi, Mary already knew that the tomb is empty after all. Alam na pala niya na itong libingan ni Jesus ay empty. Wala na dun si Jesus. So this is more acceptable in line or in the light of what we are reflecting on and discussing. Okay? But let us push our imaginations and our logical minds a bit further. Hindi kaya hindi nagpunta si Mary sa tomb was because Mary already met the risen Christ. Diba? Pwede nating isipin yon. Alam niya na nabuhay na magmuli si Jesus and she already met the risen Christ. Okay. That's the explanation on the empty tomb. So the women who met Jesus in the morning of the resurrection were with Mary at the foot of the cross. Hindi natin malayong isipin na ang dahilan kung bakit wala si Mary sa empty tomb account ay dahil nakita na niya at nakatagpo si Jesus. Right? Kasi itatanong natin, kung hindi si Mary Magdalene ang unang pinagpakitaan ni Jesus, anong nangyari? What transpired before the meeting of Jesus and Mary Magdalene? Kanino kaya siya nagpakita? Isipin natin, nagpakita kaya siya kay Poncio Pilato? Nagpakita kaya siya sa mga skriba? Doon sa mga taong kumukutya sa kanya, sa mga matatanda ng bayan? Remember, kanino nagpapakita ang Diyos? To those who believe in Him. These people did not believe in Jesus and would never believe in Him. Hindi magpapakita ang Diyos sa mga taong hindi naniniwala sa Kanya. And come to think of it, the first disciple of Jesus was His mother. The faithful disciple of Jesus, the most faithful among the disciples, is Mary, His mother. And if Wisdom 1, chapter 1, verse 2 is correct, the Lord shows Himself, manifests Himself to those who believe in Him, hindi malayong unang nagpakita si Jesus sa una at nanatiling naniniwala sa Kanya, ang Kanyang ina. Again, this is what we learn from St. Vincent Ferrer, quoting from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 1, verse 2. The Lord shows Himself to them who have faith in Him. We know that Mary is a faithful disciple. Sasabihin natin at itatanong natin, si Mary Magdalene kaya, was she not a faithful disciple? Hindi ba siya a believing disciple? Kung titignan natin yung account ng pagpunta ni Mary Magdalene sa tomb, we realize that, when she discovered that the tomb was empty, what played in her mind? Ano bang naglaro sa kanyang isipan? Did it cross her mind that Jesus rose from the dead? Hindi. According to the Gospels, ang naglaro sa isipan niya ay ninakaw ang katawan ni Jesus. Meaning, her faith was not as strong as the faith of Mary, who believed in all aspects of Jesus, including His resurrection. So kung si Mary Magdalene nakita si Jesus with even, a little faith, how much more Mary, the mother of Jesus, the first disciple who never wavered in her faith, right? Yung other disciples of Jesus, di ba? They also faltered in their faith. Kasi nung hulihin si Jesus, di ba, nagtakbuhan sila. They went their own ways. Ang natira na lamang sa krus, sa ilalim ng krus, when Jesus was crucified, was the beloved disciple. The rest were nowhere to be found. Right? And to add to this point, the words of St. Augustine are insightful. Ito yung sabi ni St. Augustine, "The only one who held firm the faith in the resurrection of Christ during the 3 days from Good Friday to Easter Sunday was Mary. She was the only believing member of the church during that Triduum." And even the 4 arguments we presented coming from St. Vincent Ferrer, remember that the appeal to justice, the appeal to faith, the appeal to love, and the appeal to the dignity of Mary would lead us to conclude that Mary should be the first one. Mary, the mother of Jesus, should be the first one to see the risen Christ. Why? Appeal to justice, right? Because honor is first given to the parents, right? The honor of seeing Jesus, the risen Christ, is given first to the parent. Di ba? Kapag, we know that in our practical experience, when a student won, for example, in a contest in school, okay, kanino niya ipapakita agad yung kanyang award? Kanino niya ipapakita agad, for example, yung kanyang grade sa school? Di ba? Sa parents. Look, I got an A. So, the honor is first given to the parents. So, if the resurrection is a grace, before it is given to others, it was first given to Mary. Appeal to love, di ba? We know that Mary, the mother of Jesus, is his first love. Ang unang minahal ni Jesus ay ang kanyang ina. Appeal to faith. Mary is the first disciple and the most faithful of all the disciples, never leaving Jesus in all aspects of his life. And appeal to dignity, right? Mary is the Immaculate Conception. And in fact, we know that part of being an Immaculate Conception is receiving redemption firsthand. Kaya nga, ang unang tumanggap ng pagkatubos ay si Maria. Ang tawag natin doon, preventive redemption. Even before Jesus died on the cross, Mary was already redeemed. Okay? Preventive redemption. Kaya nga, kung siya ang unang ni-redeem, siya rin ang unang makakakita ng resurrection. So, conclusion to the second part. Sino o kailan nagpakita si Jesus kay Maria? Alam natin, nagpakita si Jesus kay Maria, pero kailan? We are convinced that the first person to see the risen Christ was Mary herself. And we can boldly say that. We can boldly say that Mary was the first person to ever see the risen Jesus.